What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. I'm the host, Devin. Sherdog.com, pretty dope website. Check it out sometime if you haven't. Crazy weekend of fights. This episode is really going to be based off of UFC 295. It was an incredible card. This is going to be one that we look back at for many, many years. And then we'll take a short quick peek into the Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig fight card coming up this weekend. Starts early in the day, so that's okay for me. Get the early MMA in. But we're just going to start right at the top. Alex Poatan Pereira, TKO stoppage over Jiri Prochazka. Some people say it was too quick. A lot of people think it was too fast. I think a lot of people also ran with the commentary. Could the fight have gone longer? For sure. Did they err on the side of caution? Possibly. Has Mark Goddard stopped two fights kind of early in Alex Pereira's title reign? Title fights, I should say. Yeah, one could definitely argue that. Really cool, really interesting fight. Just everything. The Alex Pereira walk out to the octagon where he, like that's so dope. Then he throws that combo, ends with the hook. You know, he kind of does his strut to the octagon. He's just so he's such a character. You could tell when he walks into a room, everybody pays attention to this guy. He's just such an interesting guy. And the fallout of Israel Adesanya parlayed with, his hype, they kind of go hand in hand. In Israel's last couple fights, he definitely was losing a lot of fanfare. If you troll the social media comments, you kind of see what people have to say about him. And then all the dog stuff came out, whatever. Izzy definitely seemed to be on a downward trend. And then when Alex kind of went in there and finished him, it definitely made him a much bigger star. And this guy's just on such an incredible short MMA run. We're going to talk about the X and O's, but we got to talk about Alex Pereira first. This man debuted in the UFC, knocks out Andres Michailidis with a jump knee, then goes on to fight a kind of weird fight with Bruno Silva. Beautiful knockout win over Sean Strickland. Once he knocked out Sean Strickland, he was kind of, fast-tracked into the title picture, went in and got that late fifth-round stoppage that was semi-controversial against Israel Adesanya. Got knocked out by Izzy. Then after that, fought Jan Blachowicz to a split decision. It was at elevation, kind of a slog of a fight. And then he knocks out Jiri Prochazka with a right hook, left hook, kind of back foot counter combination. Jiri gets on a desperation takedown, gets elbowed a bunch of times, and fight gets stopped there. What an incredible run. Alex Pereira has defeated 4 UFC champions. I'll say it again. He's beat 4 UFC champions. He finished Israel Adesanya, finished him, finished Sean Strickland, beautiful fashion, and that win aged incredibly well, especially with the way Sean looked against Israel. And then he went out there and had a very close fight with Jan Blachowicz, won on the cards. It could have gone either way, but Jan Blachowicz is a great fighter. And then he goes out here and knocks out Jiri Prochazka, who was another great fighter that was on a hell of a freaking run. Was like 8 years undefeated. His last loss was against King Mo Lawal. Just an incredible feat. I love his pettiness. I love how he called out Israel Adesanya in the post-fight. And for him, that's a money-making, quadrilogy or whatever. They can make tons of money together. He's not stupid. And this guy was a double champion Glory. He just got inducted into the Glory Hall of Fame about a week ago or so. And then now he's a UFC double champion. He is sitting at the table with the likes of Conor McGregor and Daniel Cormier and Amanda Nunes and BJ Penn and all these guys and girls that have, George St. Pierre, all these absolutely incredible fighters that have definitely had longer MMA careers, especially in 2023. Like what this guy's doing is just downright incredible. And hats off to me. I had picked Alex Pereira as my heavyweight pick for the Sherdog Fantasy MMA. I might be in the lead. I might be in second place. And what this guy's doing is just nuts. He's avenging losses for Glover, beating all the dudes. The dude that shit kicked Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira knocked him out. The dude that shit kicked Israel Adesanya when Israel Adesanya went up to 205 to try to challenge him in Jan Blachowicz, Alex Pereira beat him as well. And then the dude that finished his, predecessor, his head coach, Glover, knocked him out too. This guy is just, he's doing all the things. He sits at a table with some of the most elite fighters in MMA. And when you watch him fight, like, he's still so flawed. I think his ground game does need to get a little bit more respect than it is getting. People say that his ground game is very flawed. He took no damage in the first round. I scored the first round of the fight. For him, I think everyone else in the Sherdog Slack. Let's see what MMA decisions. Sorry, not MMA decisions. I just went straight to the UFC's official website. I find it kind of interesting that all three judges scored that first round for Jiri Prochazka because he was getting eaten alive with leg kicks. And this is the same way that Alex's second fight with Israel Adesanya went, where I thought he cleanly won the first round of that fight and all the judges still scored it against him. Either way, he got knocked out, so it doesn't matter. But man, he just ate Yuri's leg alive, caused Jiri to, really get on the front foot. I watched the fight again today, and in on the first watch live, I was like, Alex won, but I wasn't too impressed. Here, he did take a couple uppercuts, and what kind of led to the finishing sequence in the second round was Jiri kind of switching stances and then throwing a big right hand that definitely caught Alex. I still don't love the way Alex reacts to punches, and it's obvious why he got knocked out against Adesanya. Obviously, the weight cut down to 185 probably obviously played a role because he was durable in this fight and durable against Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz and Jiri Prochazka are both big punchers. And super dangerous, dynamic strikers in their own way. But the finishing sequence, Jiri Prochazka's leg was beat up real bad. He had to switch stance a lot, even though he switches stance a ton normally. I think he was doing it in this fight out of necessity, but he squared up. Alex Pereira's on the back foot. Jiri had a great game plan to really force Alex on the back foot because Alex is not the best off the back foot, but clearly he's still dangerous. You go watch his Glory kickboxing. He's knocked a lot of dudes. So, he doesn't do the Stipe step back cross, but what he does is he'll step back and then boom, throw a nice, his typical hook. Jiri Prochazka squared up right in front of him. And Alex Pereira threw a right that landed kind of behind the ear, and then a left hook right behind it that landed on the jaw. And that's what started, just the downward spiral for Jiri. Jiri gets on a single leg. Alex Pereira hits him with a bunch of elbows behind the ear. He goes crumbling down. Goddard jumps in, stops the fight. People called it early, whatever. I really like what Alex showed in the first round, though. He did get taken down. He stayed super safe. He got back up to his feet. That guillotine, I thought he was going to finish Alex with that guillotine. Super impressive there. Again, I think, I even said that he may be basically the most one-dimensional two-division champion ever. Probably is. However, when Jan Blachowicz took down Israel Adesanya was a guy that was known for having decent takedown defense. Yes, that is at middleweight. And not a ton of amazing wrestlers down there. But either way, a lot of guys tried to wrestle Izzy, and Jan Blachowicz wrestled him. And Jan Blachowicz held Izzy down, got into full mount, and was able to dominate him there. Jan Blachowicz also beat Israel Adesanya striking. And Jan Blachowicz took Alex Pereira's back, took him down. Alex Pereira was able to stay safe in all of that. Jiri Prochazka, the guy that submitted Glover, yes, he got out grappled by Glover for 80% of their grappling exchanges. But Jiri Prochazka, the MMA veteran, the lifelong MMA martial artist, took down Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira was able to get to a hip, use the cage, get back up to his feet, land a nice right on the break at the end of the first round. So, I mean, if Alex Pereira gets matched up against a guy like Magomed Ankalaev or Alexander Rakic, you could totally see a slow burn on the way to a title win for one of them, where they take Alex down, they get on top of him. But just goes to show you, man, doesn't matter who the F you are. You try to have a striking match with Alex Pereira, his left hook, like it just... Jiri was fighting a good fight, landing uppercuts, putting Alex on the back foot. Yeah, he was getting chewed up with leg kicks, but he was landing hard shots on Alex. All it took was one right-left combination, and Jiri was already down. Alex, I just don't know. I mean, Stonehand, I don't know what... The way he throws that left hook, too, he just creates so much torque with it. It's just boom, just perfect. And I mean, you just can't get touched by it. And Jiri, and this is the way I kind of saw the fight. I just assumed that Jiri makes too many mistakes. I did get this one right. I did pick Alex Pereira to win. I think it was even by second round knockout. Alex Pereira, sharp, can counterpunch, semi-durable. Jiri Prochazka, very powerful, very athletic, but leaves a lot of openings. And, you know, this finish kind of made sense. Jiri literally walked into him. I was freeze framing and basically watching in slow motion the finishing sequence of this fight. And Jiri just, his leg was all chewed up. He leapt into the pocket and just stood square in the pocket with his hands down. And Alex was like, thank you, bink, bink. And he just drop down. Jiri's super freaking durable. He gets hurt in every single one of his fights, and Goddard, you know, arguably jumped in there too early. A lot of people thought it was early. Look, I'm not mad on it, but I also can be biased because I have Alex Pereira as my Sherdog light heavyweight for our MMA fantasy draft. So yeah, maybe I'm a little biased, but super impressive win for this guy. Jamal Hill was in the crowd. Alex called out Israel Adesanya, which was funny. I don't know what's up with Jamal Hill. I don't know what weight class this dude's fighting in. He's at like every single UFC event. Looks like he's been sneaking snacks into the event. He's super blown up. He has an Achilles issue. He seems like the number one title. You know, he seems like the number one contender in that division. However, today, Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker just got rematched. A week ago, Jan Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic just got matched up. This could mean a rematch. Don't know. Again, Jamal Hill's injury, his Achilles injury. You'd think that someone that blew up their Achilles would like be trying to eat healthy and not put on a ton of weight, because obviously your Achilles is your freaking leg. It's a leg injury. Why would you put more weight onto your body if you're nursing a Achilles injury? But, you know, I'm not Jamal Hill. Again, I'm just not too sure what's next. Nikita Krylov, that would be a shitstorm. Damn sure hope it's not Anthony Smith. I'm thinking Alex Pereira probably fights the winner of Johnny Walker and Magomed Ankalaev, but I'll tell you guys right now, Magomed Ankalaev is probably the best light heavyweight in the UFC, but he just cannot get his shit together. And again, I will quote Ben Ben Duffy from Sherdog, he said it perfectly. Magomed Ankalaev seems like the type of dude that will cross the street to go step in dog shit. And he also, I mean, if he takes the same game plan he did against Jan Blachowicz and tries to do the same thing against Alex Pereira, seemingly no one can take his left hook. So, yeah. Shout out to Alex for restoring some order in the UFC light heavyweight division. And it was really awesome too. I love to see Glover didn't even go through the cage. Glover fucking jumped over the cage and threw Alex up on his shoulders. And Alex didn't even he was like, I guess I won the title. He's so, he's just such a character. He's non-emotional. This week during fight week, this was the most I'd seen him smile and the most, happy I think I've seen him, but maybe we're just getting a little taste of who he really is. Him leg kicking DC. The whole thing was great. This is good for the UFC. Double champs are great. This guy is super marketable. Keep him in MSG. From what I heard, I think he's done the biggest gate sales in the UFC at MSG, which is incredible. With 7 fights in the UFC and 11 pro fights, he's a mega star. And what makes his mystique even, cooler, in my opinion, is he's got some glaring weaknesses. He's not a grappler, but he's the anomaly where that shit just doesn't matter. And we're going to move on to the next fight here in a minute, but it's really interesting that in the main event and the co-main event, especially at this weight class where obviously, all 4 fighters involved in the co-main and the main event, both of the guys that lost are dudes that are just weird, that don't have the most nip-tuck games, but are just super powerful. And then you got, Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall, dudes that have true skill sets that are true martial artists. And they prevailed. Kind of interesting. Really, really cool. Shout out to Alex Pereira. Shout out to Jiri. Jiri said after the fight, I lost, I was out. So if there's any argument, anyone that thinks it was stopped early, Jiri said that he was out. And I'm sure he was. The dude got punched by Alex Pereira. Everyone that gets punched by him gets knocked out. Incredible fight. And we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm sure in London all weekend they've been singing Tommy Aspinall, Tommy Aspinall, Aspinall. Tom Aspinall knocks out Sergei Pavlovich 69 seconds into round number 1. This is just a flat out incredible performance by Tom Aspinall. I got this one wrong. I thought it would go the way it went. I just thought Sergei Pavlovich would catch Tom Aspinall, and he did catch Tom Aspinall. He wobbled Tom Aspinall. I thought Tom Aspinall would get in trouble for just leaping in and throwing leg kicks, kind of how he did against Curtis Blades in the 15 seconds of their fight. And that's something he may want to clean up in the future, but maybe not, because he's just so fucking fast. And I don't know if anyone can make him pay for it, because if the dude that was going to make him pay for it, Sergei Pavlovich, got knocked the fuck out. Pavlovich was definitely the slower guy. I was surprised how big Aspinall was compared to Pavlovich, because Pavlovich is absolutely huge. He's literally built like a freaking ice chest. He's built like a refrigerator. Longer reach, but Aspinall, very similar size, huge man. And his ability, I thought him leaping into the pocket the way he does was going to make him susceptible to damage, and maybe somebody will time something on him. It's heavyweight. Everybody hits really, really hard. Could somebody like Derek Lewis just time an overhand while Tom Aspinall leaps into the pocket and catch him cold for it? Potentially. Maybe, but not on Saturday night, not at UFC 295, not in MSG. He leaped in through a 1-2 and landed the right hand right behind Sergei Pavlovich's ear, poor Sergei. I hope his knee's okay. He kind of did the knee folding over. You know, it wasn't like Krokop bad, because I know that happened to Krokop back in the day where he fell over and rolled all over his knee. But yeah, Pavlovich goes down, and Tom Aspinall is the champ in 69 seconds, just over a minute. And it's crazy. Looping back to what I was saying just a little bit ago about how the two technicians, and yes, Sergei Pavlovich is semi-technical. He's got fast hands. He's got good boxing. He throws this weird like uppercut jousting right hand, and he'll split people's guard with it. He's really, really good at all that stuff. But Aspinall is just, you know, he was a sparring partner of Tyson Fury. Yeah, Tyson Fury's coming off of a not extremely impressive performance against Francis Ngannou, but whatever. Like, he's been in the room with the likes of those guys, and he's huge. He's lightning fast. And what's crazy is, yeah, he's a damn good striker, clearly, but he's got even better BJJ. Like, I watched I watched his fight with Volkov today, and Volkov threw a right hand the same way John Jones slipped the right hand to Cyril Gane, ducked under, and got the takedown that, you know, got him to his title. Was the same thing, very similar setup that Aspinall did to take down Volkov. And he's got submissions. He's been training since he was like 8 years old or something like that, like under the tutelage of his father. Sidebar, it's extremely hilarious how Tom Aspinall is like 6'5" and his dad is like 5'8". That was very funny. You'd expect some giant man. Nope, it's kind of just a small looking normal guy in the corner. In Tom Aspinall's corner, he was the smallest dude, his dad. It's a really nice moment. He goes and puts the belt around his dad. You just clearly cannot get into a shootout with this guy. The guy that was killing everyone in shootouts in Sergei Pavlovich just got detonated. And I don't know who's going to wrestle with Aspinall. Maybe Blades or Almeida can scramble with him. But from what we saw with Almeida is a lot smaller. Not a lot smaller, but significantly smaller than Tom Aspinall. Blades is a dude that, you know, Blades is good, but he's not great, is what he's been showing us. And he's a dude that can get touched up. I'll tell you what, John Jones is probably looking at his checking accounts and his savings accounts, and he might be opening like a high yield account that's going to earn him some more money, and probably thinking like, I don't know if I'm fighting MMA again. Not too sure John Jones comes back after this one. The favorable matchup for John Jones would have been Sergei Pavlovich, in my opinion. But a guy like Sergei Pavlovich poses so many threats, and Tom Aspinall was like, wait, it's literally that, you know, anything you can do, I can do better. Oh, you just want to get into a shootout and you want to get into the pocket and swing hammers. Well, I'm a little more technical and I'm a little faster, and clearly I can hit very hard too. And Tom Aspinall exiting the pocket, he was pulling back. I didn't love that, but like, no one's fast enough to make him pay. He's faster than Cyril Gane, and Cyril Gane's probably the second fastest heavyweight. And you look at fights like the Dominic Reyes fight, a guy that was just able to be explosive and athletic, landed so much stuff on John Jones. Aspinall's bigger, more technical. He seems faster than Dominic Reyes. Clearly hits harder. More durable. No one's taken those shots from Pavlovich and stayed composed and was able to go in there and do the damn thing. So you throw all the striking out the window and you put someone like Tom Aspinall against John Jones, and you're like, well, John Jones is a great grappler. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't see today, 2023. I'm recording this on November 13th. I don't see anywhere John Jones can beat Tom Aspinall. He's not going to outstrike him. He's not going to out-wrestle him. Aspinall's got a great submission game. Like, he comes from a BJJ background. We've seen him take heavyweights down. We've seen him submit guys. Tom Aspinall might be the most well-rounded heavyweight champion in the UFC history. And I know that's saying a lot because there's guys like Cain Velasquez in there. Yeah, Aspinall's a motherfucker. He's going to be a problem for a lot of people. Who he fights next, it ain't going to be Jailton Almeida. It could have been Jailton Almeida if Jailton Almeida wanted to fight Tom Aspinall, but the way he fought Derek Lewis, it kind of shows us that he needs a lot. Stipe showed up. Stipe looked really old. He weighed like 230 pounds in his fight against Francis. If he the way he looked and how short notice this fight with John Jones fell out 2 weeks ago. The fight between John Jones and Stipe Miocic, that fell out about 2.5 weeks ago when Aspinall and Pavlovich got notice and the fight got made. Stipe did not look like a guy that was ready to fight for a title 2 weeks prior. He looked small. There's some interesting stat about his leg size. And like, it looked like the jeans he was wearing were like, it looked like he had a 27-inch waist and a 27-inch leg length, which could be perfectly normal for someone that's 5'5", not 6'3". Stipe and I love Stipe. I'm a big time Stipe Miocic guy. I just don't think he looked great the way he even showed up to MSG. And a guy like Tom Aspinall, I mean, that's just a nightmare for Stipe. He's just, again, I can do anything you can do, but better. And Aspinall may be the new age. He may be the new age of heavyweight. He's just so incredible. His speed, his athleticism, his well-rounded skill set. I am super curious to see what he does next. The UFC, Dana White, in the post-fight press conference, Dana White was asked, are we going to just kind of leave the Stipe thing behind? Is Tom Aspinall going to fight John Jones instead? Doesn't look like it. And really the only person that Aspinall hasn't fought up above him or around him in the rankings at this point would be Ciryl Gane or Stipe or John Jones. Dana said for sure John Jones is fighting Stipe. And it's kind of annoying because they're going to do a title fight when there's clearly an interim champion that's, in my opinion, the best heavyweight on the planet. It's Tom Aspinall. He's probably going to end up fighting Ciryl Gane. This is going to become a real big shit show. And I'm rubbing my head because it's already stressing me out just to think about it, because what's going to happen is Tom Aspinall is probably going to defend his interim title against Ciryl Gane, maybe like in the O2 Arena or something in Europe in first quarter or mid of next year. John Jones ripped his shoulder apart. He got an old man injury, and the dude that caused that injury, I know it happened in training, but John Jones was shooting a takedown. Maurice Green defended a takedown, and that caused John Jones' arm to blow up. Maurice Green in 2023 was the dude John Jones was tussling with when he got an injury. Yeah, what happens when he has to tussle some of these dudes that are actually legit competition? I don't know. I'm not calling Ciryl Gane not legit competition, but that was a weird fight in its own. And it's just annoying to think that the UFC is going to still try to make this match with Stipe Miocic and John Jones. They're going to fight. Both of them are going to retire. And then whoever is holding the interim title is going to be promoted to the champion. It'll be kind of like the Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero thing at middleweight, but this is going to be even more gross. Either way, huge shout out to Tom Aspinall. His moment in the octagon was great. He wraps the belt around his dad, and he was very composed. And as he's walking out, he gets greeted by Bisping. And I know him and Bisping are good buddies, and they shoot the shit. But you can tell he really looks up to Bisping because he started to break down and cry when he saw Bisping. And it was really cool. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I guess they're pretty close. They're friends. The first British UFC champion was the first person to greet Aspinall on the runway out of there. And then right after him was Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the first Polish UFC champion. So really cool stuff. Great scene in MSG. And then, in my opinion, the rightful champion, and in my opinion, the best heavyweight in the world. I don't care what the rankings say. I don't care what anybody wants to squabble about. Tom Aspinall, in my opinion, is the number one heavyweight in the world right now. I believe he's at the top of the Sherdog rankings, or he will be. And not only is he winning fights, he's got the shortest fight time in the UFC, and he is lighting mofos up. Shout out Tommy Aspinall. UK, you've got one. Moving on to maybe the most hilarious fight on the card. Jessica Andrade knocking out Mackenzie Dern in the second round, dropping her 4 times, causing her to look like she was trying to practice the drunken fist. I think this is the top of the food chain for Mackenzie Dern. She looked okay. Jason Pereira taught her how to jab, but like everything else, it's just like an old piece of shit car driving down the street where things just start falling off. I mean, let's go ahead and we can take a quick look at Mackenzie Dern's record and see just where she lies and what her UFC record looks like. And yeah, she submitted Hannah Cyphers back in 2020, and she submitted Randa Marcos back in 2020. But besides that, decision against Viana Jandiroba, Nina Ansaroff, she submitted her. And besides that, that was her last submission win. This is someone that's supposed to be a highly touted BJJ practitioner. She can't wrestle, doesn't have the means to get there, and hasn't submitted anyone in over 2 years. And since then has fought 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 people. That would be like Alex Pereira not knocking anybody out in his last 5 fights. And yeah, she has definitely fought better competition, but someone like Marina Rodriguez, someone with Mackenzie Dern's acumen and skill, to go 5 rounds with her and not get a submission is pretty interesting. The split decision win she got over Tisha Torres, highly controversial. She got completely outclassed by Yan Zonan. She looked great against Angela Hill. She really looked really good, and her striking looked like it came a long way, but then the gym she was at kind of fell apart. Ruka Sport kind of fell apart. I'm not too sure what happened there. You guys could look into it, and you should look into it. I'm going to look into it probably because I'm a little bit unsure of what happened to Jason Pereira and Ruka Sport. Someone smarter than me definitely knows what happened. But, man, Andrade just was very unconfident, brawling. Andrade didn't look great here either. But once Andrade realized that she could get her mojo back, like, hey, I could just go punch this girl really hard. She did. The takedowns didn't work. And this is it for, Andrade fought 5 times in 2023, was on a 3-fight skid, getting finished over and over again, taking a bunch of fights on short notice. I was super concerned about Andrade as a fighter in total, about her management, what they were doing with her. None of that mattered because Mackenzie Dern may be the most elite fighter with the worst skill set. Like, if we think Alex Pereira can't wrestle or can't grapple, you compare Alex Pereira's grappling to Mackenzie Dern's striking. Yeah, Mackenzie Dern is bad. Her corner, I kid you not, you can go back and watch the tape. Her corner in between rounds 1 and 2, their corner advice, a part of her corner advice was thug life, which is just MMA in a nutshell. But thug life was the corner advice. They didn't tell her go to your grappling. They didn't tell her go to the high single. They didn't tell her push her against the cage, force her to give her back and take her back. They didn't tell her to pull guard. They didn't tell her anything. They told her thug life. Thug life was some of the corner advice Mackenzie Dern received in that fight. And that's just bad. And you feel bad for Dern. But I'm just not sure she's ever going to get it. She's tenacious. She's tough. She's durable. This is the first time she's ever been stopped in her MMA career. She has everything the UFC wants. She's very attractive. She can speak pretty well. The cameras don't bother her. She shows up to fight. She's got a dog in her. She loves to scrap. But she's just not good. It's her BJJ is like being the equivalent of being the best figure skater in the world, but you didn't bring your skates. Like, she does not have the ability in MMA in 2023. She even hip tossed Jessica Andrade in the first round, hip tossed her with ease, got overzealous, and that was the only ground exchange they had. That was the only bit of grappling they had. She didn't even pull guard, nothing. And Andrade is a beast. She's super strong in the clinch. But she just brawled with Andrade. Like, it was just super low IQ stuff. Very low IQ, brawling with Jessica Andrade. Close first round, went out there and just got shit kicked in the second round. As the first round started to unfold, towards the end of the first round, she started getting pieced up by Andrade. Andrade realized she looked like she just got her confidence back. This fight was set up for Dern to win. Andrade's a big name on a losing streak, losing pretty embarrassingly, in my opinion. But Jessica Andrade is back. You feel for Andrade too, because she talked about the divorce that she went through. And I think the real reason why Andrade won and Mackenzie Dern lost is because Andrade just came off a fresher divorce. I'm sure someone listening to the show is willing to get with Mackenzie Dern and then break up with her in order for her to win another fight. Obviously, I'm joking. I'm being very sarcastic. But Dern said that, she got this divorce, and Joe Rogan goes, hopefully you can use this win money to pay for your divorce. I'm really hoping that's not why Andrade was just ripping through these fights. Maybe she wants to get out of the UFC, or maybe, her manager pushed her into starting an OnlyFans, and she hated it. Someone like Jessica Andrade has clearly been mismanaged her whole career, and it's kind of sad. For someone that has as many finished wins in women's MMA over 3 different divisions, 115, 125, and 135. Someone like her, she should just have a lot more money than it seems that she does, especially where she lives down in Brazil. Great win for her. I'm not too sure what this means for Jessica Andrade. She's already submitted Amanda Lemos. Maybe they can run that back. Luana Pinheiro has a fight coming up. I'm just not too sure. Luana Pinheiro is fighting Amanda Ribas. Maybe Andrade could fight Lupi. Lupi did really, really good on this card. She had a good fight with Tabitha Ricci. I could see Lupi fighting Mackenzie Dern or Jessica Andrade. Curious to see what they do with Dern moving forward. I'm curious to see what they do with Andrade. You guys in the comments, let me know what you would do with these 2 women after this. But good win for Jessica Andrade, and I think she picked up $50K, which is going to go to her divorce probably. Moving on to one of my favorite performances off UFC 295. There was just so damn many. Benoit Saint Denis, head kick knockout against Matt Frevola. Super impressive. Saint Denis is really turning into a guy that seems like he's going to be a problem, especially if he can kind of button up a little bit of his tendencies. But man, the way he finished Matt Frevola, super impressive. Start of the fight, they both come out, they're swinging. Frevola actually hits him with a nice cross. Saint Denis body kicks, his kicks. He's a great kicker. He seems super athletic, super strong, and he seems to have a very good technical background. He is kind of a technical brawler, you could call him. I didn't like him jumping guillotine on Matt Frevola. I really didn't like that at all. But the sweep he hit on him, that sweep he hit, and he said it in the post fight. He's like, "Yeah, I can jump guillotine on people because I trust my BJJ and my ability down there. I knew I was going to be able to sweep Matt Frevola." Matt Frevola is a good wrestler. He was able to take Saint Denis down in this fight. Saint Denis was able to get back up to his feet, and they were, kind of exchanging in the pocket along the fence. Matt Frevola went to exit and kind of skirt the outside of the octagon. Saint Denis just cut him off, and he was able to cover so much space and set up that head kick. He covered so much space. Matt Frevola was circling out. He thought he was way out of range. He thought he was way out of danger. Saint Denis said, "No, that if you're not," cut that angle, threw up that head kick, blasted him, blew up his eye. The second the kick landed, you could see Frevola's eye bleeding. He goes down, a little bit of ground and pound, finishes him. Poor Frevola. I mean, that whole team didn't have a good night. Bazookia got knocked out bad in the first fight, opening fight, first round by Jamal Emmers. Nazim Sadiakov went to war with Borishev, got a draw, and then he got knocked out. So New York fighters had kind of a tough go this past Saturday, but Saint Denis, man, he was favored for a reason. He was gonna be my backup pick for the Sherdog MMA fantasy little contest that we're doing, and I was so close to picking Saint Denis, and I went with Arman Sarukian instead. He's got a fight coming up with Beneil, but man, I'm kind of kicking myself with the dick for not picking Saint Denis because he is just good. He's on a problem. He's a problem. He's on a hell of a streak, finishing guys, and everyone he's finishing is getting better and better. The finish against Bonfim, super impressive. The finish against Moises, super impressive. The finish against Matt Frevola, super impressive. And he's able to submit, face crank, head kick, punch, like ground and pound. He's just so well-rounded. He called out the BMF. He called out Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is never fighting Benoit Saint Denis. Dustin Poirier is only fighting big fights, and he's probably got 2 fights left, maybe 1 in MMA. Justin Gaethje's going to hold out for a title fight with Islam. Islam looks like he's going to be fighting Charles Oliveira. And I think he called out Gamrot. I say fuck it. Let him fight Mateusz Gamrot. Gamrot is a guy that's good, but has a bunch of weird wins in the UFC. Clearly he's high level, but his win against his win against Arman Sarukian, his win against Jalen Turner, his most recent fight, I don't know why the name is escaped. Rafael Fiziev. All those fights kind of ended in a weird way or a way that can be contested, and he's been given a lot of opportunities in the UFC. So let's give Benoit Saint Denis an opportunity. Let's go ahead and give him a fight against someone like Gamrot, or maybe he can fight the loser of the Beneil Dariush Arman Sarukian fight. I think that makes all the sense in the world. French MMA is blowing up. They could throw him on a card with Cyril Gane in France or someone over there in France. And this guy is cruising, and he's on his way to not only becoming a star, but becoming a potential main event guy. Within his next 2 fights, if he goes out there and maybe they match him up with someone like Jalen Turner or something like that. He goes out there and gets a win like that. He's definitely fighting in a main event fight night. I'm totally up for it. Terrence McKinney called him out. I love Terrence McKinney to death. I think that's a backward step for someone like Benoit Saint Denis. Even though Terrence McKinney's super dangerous and can knock out anyone at any time, I think Saint Denis is just on this incredible run. He's surging. I don't like him jumping guillotine. He called out. He said he wants to fight the champion. He's not scared of anybody. He'd love to fight Islam Makhachev. You can't jump guillotine on someone like Islam Makhachev. You'd need to be 100% on point. Look what Islam just did in his last fight. But man, he said nobody can fight 3 rounds with him in the UFC. He's starting to make me a believer of that. Benoit Saint Denis, he's absolutely incredible. French special forces. The dude is a true warrior, and he's good. His kicking game, his body kicks, the way he threw, he threw 3, 4, 5 body kicks, and then once Frevola started exiting the pocket, and he thought Frevola had his hands down, Frevola thought he was way out of range. Saint Denis said, "No, you're not. I'll cut the angle and hit you with the head kick." He's a little bit defensively porous, but what he showed against Zaleski dos Santos, I think I said it right. We're going to call him Capoeira. What he showed in that fight was grit and tenacity and his ability to stay tough, even though that fight should have got stopped. And what a streak for this guy. 6 fights in the UFC, 1 getting absolutely shit kicked, and then 5 straight wins, bunch of finishes. This dude's an animal. He's a monster. He is must-see TV, and he is, turning himself into a, Justin Gaethje 2.0 type where everyone's going to tune in. They know they're going to get violence with him. Shout out to Benoit Saint Denis. He is a guy that y'all need to look out for. If you're listening to the show, you know who he is, and this guy's must-see TV. He's awesome. Just a quick recap of UFC 295. Jamal Emmers had such an impressive performance. I'm not going to break down the fight, but we got to talk about it. Jamal Emmers' camp, him and Bobby Green are 2 dudes that have been training partners forever. And then they're both getting first-round knockouts. Knocks out Bazookia, great win. Joshua Van, super young flyweight, goes out there and fights a veteran performance against Kevin Borjas. That was a great fight. John Castaneda and Kang Ho Kong was probably the worst fight on the card, and that's actually saying a lot. Jared Gordon knocks out Mark Madsen. Super impressive there. Mateus Rebetzi gets an armbar over Roosevelt Roberts. I kind of like Roosevelt Roberts, and I think he just gave up in that fight. Lupi had a very good fight where she got, dropped in the second round via head clash. One of the judges scored that fight for Tabitha Ritchie, which I think is an all-time bad scorecard. Steve Erceg had a good fight with Alessandro Costa, and then the main event was incredible. We didn't have time to talk about Diego Lopes, but Diego Lopes knocking out Pat Sabatini, super impressive. Benoit Saint Denis, all these guys. I mean, this is going to be one of those cards we talk about forever. Go back and watch this start to finish. You can, you got nothing to watch one night, just throw on UFC 295 in 6 to 8 months and just watch it through. Watch the main card. Just incredible performances from all these fighters, men and women. They all showed out. Moving on to the final segment of the show, we're going to talk about Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig, UFC Vegas, coming up this weekend. The card is not the best card, in my opinion, unfortunately, but hell, I'd be okay with no card after what UFC 295 brought to the table. There's a couple interesting fights like Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews. Peyton Talbot's a guy that I kind of had my eye on off the Contender Series. Luana Pinheiro, Amanda Hebos. Johnny Parsons and Euros Medic might be a pretty decent fight. It's a 14-fight card. It's pretty stacked through and through. Nothing that really gets me off, unfortunately. But I do like the main event, and we're just going to dive right into the main event. Paul Craig versus Brendan Allen. The odds on this fight, I pulled the odds and I'm very surprised. Brendan Allen is a minus 350 favorite. Paul Craig comes back at plus 350. And right away, I don't like those odds at all. I think those odds are incorrect. I think Paul Craig at 185 is a dude that is being absolutely slept on, but we're gonna get into it. Brendan Allen is a dude that I don't know if I'm still fully convinced on, but the same could be said for Paul Craig. Brendan Allen is coming off of a pretty good win against Bruno Silva, choked him out, a good win against Andre Muniz, also got a rear naked choke there. He's on a 5-fight win streak, but 3 of those coming via rear naked choke. He had that unanimous decision. That was a really close fight with Jacob Malkoun. Jacob Malkoun is good. And he had another rear naked choke against Sam Alvey. It's Sam Alvey, and that was in 2022. Prior to that, he did get knocked out by Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is a good striker and a good defensive grappler. And that's kind of Brendan Allen's thing. Brendan Allen is definitely putting in a lot of work with the team over at Henry Hooft. He's definitely tightening up his skill. Henry Hooft, if you know anything about that camp there with Henry Hooft, he is a very, I don't want to say nuts and bolts, but he builds fighters. You know, he will be your father figure. He will build you up. He will slowly build you. He will teach you all the right techniques, and he will beat them into you. Henry Hooft is a guy that Dutch kickboxing legend, and that's kind of, you know, how he trains his MMA fighters. And it looks like Brendan Allen has definitely taken a liking to a lot of the training that goes on there. There's a lot of great guys in the room, and he's still so young. He's only 27 years old. And he's finally coming into his confidence where he is getting touched in the pocket. Like guys like Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland, when they knocked him out, he started looking really shook up. But a guy like Bruno Silva, who's a big puncher, caught Brendan Allen a couple times. Yes, Bruno Silva is the most wishy-washy, weird fighter on the roster. And yeah, you saw the claims, whatever. But still a guy that hits hard. And, you know, rattled Brendan Allen a little bit, and Brendan Allen stayed strong and had a lot of success on the feet. We'll flip over to Paul Craig. He's a guy that he lost in a kind of embarrassing fashion against Volkan Oezdemir, got knocked out in a weird way against Johnny Walker, but looked really, really good coming down a weight class against Andre Muniz. He's huge. He's 35 years old. And this guy has some incredible wins. His win against Nikita Krylov was beating the shit out of him. Gets the triangle against Nikita Krylov. That TKO against Jamal Hill was a triangle with elbows, breaking his arm. Beat Jamal Hill, who was a UFC champion at 205. The win against Shogun Rua back in 2020, you can throw that away. The Antigulov win via triangle choke was pretty impressive, and he has some losses. He can get beat up, but this dude literally submitted Magomed Ankalaev via triangle at the 4-minute 59-second mark in round 3 of their fight. This guy has got a lot of skills, man, and I think him at plus 350 is a very good number. It's gotten bet up even more and more, and people are very high on Brendan Allen, and he's looking very great. But I could totally see Brendan Allen being overconfident and kind of getting into a tussle on the mat with Paul Craig. I'm just like, Paul Craig is even with losses, he's extremely confident. He's an extremely, extremely confident fighter. I think he may be a more confident fighter than Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen should have all the success in the world on the feet, but Brendan Allen is a BJJ practitioner. He is a good grappler. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's a pretty good wrestler. But I think Paul Craig is going to come in here as the bigger guy and the older guy and the more confident guy. And, you know, he may get clipped up a bit. He may get knocked the F out by Brendan Allen coming down a weight class. Paul Craig coming down a weight class. And he may be more susceptible, but he looked great against Andre Muniz. Was vicious with the ground and pound, vicious with the top game. And I think in this weight class, Paul Craig can go and really rely on his grappling. 185 is just so weird. It's such a weird division. And Paul Craig at plus 350 against someone that is not a title challenger. I mean, this fight could look just like the Nikita Krylov fight. This fight could look like the Jamal Hill fight. These are dudes that are more dangerous than Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's a decent puncher, and can he hurt? He's a pretty big guy. Can he hurt Paul Craig? Totally. But what does he do when he hurts people? He's a club and sub guy. That's Brendan Allen's game. And a club and sub game versus the king of getting clubbed and then subbing you? I don't know. I think this is a fight Paul Craig can win. I think even if Paul Craig gets hurt, he definitely stays more composed than Brendan Allen when he gets hurt. Can Paul Craig get knocked out? Yes, he can. Will he die on a single leg? Yes, he will. He did it against Johnny Walker. But I don't think Brendan Allen is the athlete that some of these guys are that have knocked him out. You look at someone like Alonzo Menifield that knocked out Paul Craig, and Alonzo Menifield is absolutely giant. But Paul Craig literally triangle choke freaking Kennedy into Chukwu. That's a guy that's huge. He didn't get finished by Volkan Oezdemir. I think Volkan Oezdemir is a little bit more of a dangerous puncher than Brendan Allen. And yeah, that fight sucked, but Paul Craig had moments in that fight. And I just think if Brendan Allen touches him and gets tricked into thinking Paul Craig's hurt and gets overzealous, Paul Craig can submit any human from 185 to 205 off of his back. He can do it. He's done it. He did it to freaking Magomed Ankalaev. He did it to freaking Jamal Hill, two of the best light heavyweights on the planet. Did it to Nikita Krylov, another top 10 UFC light heavyweight. I'm leaning Paul Craig here. I think Brendan Allen may clip him up on the feet. I think Brendan Allen may clip him and get overconfident and follow him to the mat. And I think as good of a BJJ practitioner, and I know that's Brendan Allen's thing, I think Paul Craig may be a little bit more dangerous there. I think Paul Craig is a little bit more of a confident fighter as well. I could see him pulling guard and using his BJJ game to just win this fight, and it would be hilarious if he does. And at plus 350, like with Paul Craig's weird game and ability to just get shit kicked and stay composed and not die, yeah, give me Paul Craig plus 350. He gets a submission in the third round or second round. Paul Craig, second round submission after taking a little bit of a beating in the first round. Brendan Allen makes a mistake, follows him to the ground. He gets submitted. Check the Kick podcast, Sherdog.com. Thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the fights, but at least enjoy the one fight that's good this weekend. Thanks, guys. Take care.